Hello, you gorgeous, gorgeous bunch of beautiful souls. Welcome back to Life with Kirsty Kane. How are you? How the heck are you? I hope you've had a wonderful week. I hope you've enjoyed the last couple of episodes of the podcast. I'm starting to get in the swing of things now, and I'm actually really enjoying sharing some life lessons and some mindset things. I actually got some really beautiful feedback after last week's episode on gratitude in how we kind of come up and down in energy here. You know, this is us on episode 4, and I've told you some funny life stories and life updates. And then we come down in energy a little bit and ground you in some life coaching, some gratitude, some mindset practices. Today we're going into a little bit of a crazy story. And I'm smiling telling you this because this is something that you guys highly requested when I asked on my Instagram. And that is the story of myself and my boyfriend, Michael, and how we met and the story of our first date. Because the last thing that I said to you guys in that episode about me moving house is that I was very single. And I'm now not single. I haven't been single for a long time. And I really want to share that story with you. I get a lot of people in my inbox on Instagram, a lot of women who are single mums, and they come to me because I share some content every now and again about what I like to call independent mum life, because it's not about our relationship, it's about how we're showing up in the world. We're not showing up in the world single, we're showing up in the world strong and independent, which is also why I feel that that title will never go away, even although I'm in a relationship now, and I have been for just over 6 years at this moment in time. I love sharing the story of Michael and I because it gives you guys a little bit of hope that there is a walking, talking, handsome 6-foot green flag out there for everyone. And it is a really fun story, actually, to share. So picture this. I am 30 years old. I've just moved into this house with my 2 girls who were 4 and 6 at the time. And I'm borderline allergic to men. I don't want to be near them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't even want to look at them. Now, 18 months later, everything changed. But during those 18 months, I did date. I was in a short, we could call it a rebound relationship. It was a flurry of lessons all compacted into a 6-month period. And it was like, right, Kirsty, we're going to teach you so much all at once here. Are you ready? I was not ready. And it really caught me by surprise. But that is a whole episode in its own. Maybe we will share that at some point. That might actually take a couple of episodes. But after that, so that took me to round about Valentine's Day 2019, I decided I don't want anything serious at all. It's just not for me. Now, that's not to say that I didn't date, I didn't have things going on, because I did. I just was not looking for my person at that moment in time. Now, come to the October, I was at a Halloween party with my eldest daughter, and I was actually dancing, doing the cha-cha slide with a giant inflatable banana, and I had my phone in my back pocket, and I felt it vibrate. So I actually stopped my dance and I looked at my phone and it said, Michael has sent you a message. And by those words, you will be able to tell which dating app we met on. It was actually Tinder, believe it or not. Hashtag Tinder success story over here. We always laugh about that because it does not feel like that's how we met at all. But I'm a great believer in doing things out of the box to meet people that you wouldn't naturally cross paths with, just to see who the universe is actually going to bring to you. Nothing against online dating at all. I have some very funny, very eyebrow-raising stories from my experience online dating. Some of them may make the podcast, some of them may get me cancelled, but it's all fun and games. So I got this message, Michael has sent you a message. And I put my phone away and I continued the cha-cha slide because in that moment, we'll talk about this again in another episode, in that moment I was in a high vibrational state. Now, I am a lover of frequency, a lover of manifestation, the law of attraction. And when you are vibrating in a high frequency, you are magnetic to people, to opportunities, to unexpected money, to gifts, to abundance, to all of these things that are also vibrating at this high frequency. Doing the cha-cha slide without a care in the world, I was not thinking about my person. I was not thinking about dating. I wasn't thinking about anything like that. I was thinking I need to really show up and do the best cha-cha slide of my life with this inflatable banana. So after my little dance, I sat down and I had a look at my phone. Now, what had happened, I had right swiped on him, he had right swiped on me, and then he had obviously messaged. I can't remember who actually right swiped first. I don't think it was an instant match for me, so maybe I right swiped first. Anyway, we had a bit of a conversation on that Saturday night, and we very quickly moved it off of the app. Now, during that short conversation that we had on Tinder, we were both kind of saying this isn't really our scene. I didn't want to be on a dating app. He was saying he didn't want to be on a dating app. And we got quite quickly into the whole scenario of qualifying questions. Why are you single? How long have you been single? What's your family situation? How old are your kids? Where do you stay? How do you like to spend your time? Do you go out much was a big one for me because I'm not a big person for going out. I personally, not that there's anything against it, but I wouldn't want to be dating someone that was out every weekend consuming alcohol. I was very much in a season of my life where I just wanted to settle into my house, into my home, into my life as an independent mum. And I just wanted someone chill. Well, the universe certainly served me that because Michael is the most laid back person I've ever met in my whole entire life. So by about 9-10 o'clock that night, we'd swapped numbers and we had began messaging, and we weren't communicating via Tinder anymore. So we had a bit of a chat that night, back and forward, and we seemed to hit it off really, really well. Now, I don't know how most people would work in this situation where you're just getting to know someone for the very first time, how long you really leave it between messaging, between wrapping up one conversation, like, do you just message them the next day? Is it a couple of days? I didn't know the etiquette. I hadn't really been in this situation ever in my life. And apart from all of the first dates that I'd gone on, I was in a very first date cycle for the 8 months or so before I met Michael through choice. So I didn't really know how long to leave it, but I didn't have to even question that because the following day, Michael then got back in touch. So we were chatting on the Sunday and we had a few little conversations on and off, and you start to get that butterfly feeling of I'm quite excited about when they're going to text me next. That's what it was like. And this carried on for the rest of the Sunday, and by the Sunday evening he said to me, I'd love to take you out. Now keep in mind we hadn't spoken for more than 24 hours at this point, but when I say that I got a really good feeling, as did he, I later found out. I'm not joking when I say that, because it was one of these situations where I was like, well, obviously we're going to meet, obviously we're going to hang out, obviously we're going to text each day. It just naturally fell into that without us saying, here's what I'm expecting from the other person. So go through Monday to Friday and we were chatting. It got to, I think it was the Monday night or the Tuesday night. And I said, look, I can't wait to meet you at the weekend, but do you mind if we speak on the phone just so that I know that you are going to be, who you say you are, essentially. And at this point, we'd been swapping photos and stuff, right? Some photos back and forward. And we had a conversation on the phone and it was so nice and relaxed and it was just chill. And it honestly just felt like I was catching up with someone that I hadn't spoken to for like a while. We naturally fell into a really good rhythm of conversation and it was just lovely. So the date on the Saturday was going ahead. My girls were due to go to their other parents on the Saturday morning, come home the Sunday evening, so I would have an empty house. Now here's where alarm bells started ringing for me. Yes, alarm bells before I had even met Michael. And that was because he didn't stay in my town. He stayed in the next town along from me that's about half an hour away from my town. And he was coming to my town for a night out. I got myself in a little bit of a panic for a couple of days, and I was speaking to my friend about this too, because I was saying I think he is expecting to stay here at my house on the Saturday night. Now, I did not want that. I didn't want to go out on a first date with someone that I just met off the internet, had never met in person before, and have them stay over at my house. Not to say that there hadn't been people here before, but we're not going to go into that on this episode. But I didn't want him to stay at the house. So it got to the Thursday, and I was feeling, I wonder if I need to cancel this, or to at least bring it up in conversation, because I'm not entirely sure his intentions and my intentions at this point are the same thing. We were getting on phenomenally well. So well. This just hadn't cropped up yet. So I asked him, after our date on Saturday night, what are your plans? Without even hesitating, he sent me a picture. Now, that picture was a screenshot of a guest house that he had been looking at to stay in. And in that moment in time, every single worry that I had completely dissolved. Because I didn't have to worry about what his intentions were, because he wasn't even planning on staying here. That was the whole reason that he hadn't brought it up in conversation. It hadn't even crossed his mind. Now, our date. So that's me just setting the scene. For our date, we played about with a few ideas. And we decided, you know what, let's just go to a little wine bar. We'll have a couple of glasses of wine. We'll get to know each other a little bit. I'll get a taxi home to my house because I have my dog here. And he can then get a taxi to his guest house. And let's just say it all went wrong at the wine bar. It had actually gone wrong before then, because Michael had to drive to my town to go to his guest house. So what he did was call me and say, get yourself ready. I'm going to come and pick you up, and we'll go to the guest house and drop his car off. And then we will get a taxi into town and we'll go out. That was the plan. I know you probably shouldn't give someone from the internet your address when you haven't met them in person. In hindsight, probably shouldn't have. However, it worked out fine in this scenario. So when Michael came to pick me up, he pulled up outside the house, opened his driver's side door, got out the car, gave me a beautiful big bunch of flowers, and gave me a massive cuddle. Now, that instantly put me at ease. Probably a little bit cheesy to be turning up and giving someone flowers like that on a first date, but I've never told him that, and he doesn't listen to this podcast, and when I do tell him, he is going to laugh. He'll probably never buy me flowers again. But it did really make me laugh. And when I brought the flowers inside, I actually said to my dog, the boy did good. I put the flowers in the house and then went back outside. I can't really remember the drive from here to his guest house. And we were probably just nervously chatting absolute rubbish. And on arrival at his guest house, we actually went into the bar there and had a drink. Now, I was trying to play it cool, but I'm not very good at that. I'm not very good at that at all. So when we were sitting in the little bar in the guest house, we were the only two people there. And it was a tiny little room, and then there was just the guy that owned the guest house that was serving drinks from this tiny little table in the corner. And he poured me some wine, and he poured Michael some wine, and I was sitting on one of the little love seats that you get. Like the 2-person little sofa with little wooden legs. It was very fancy. And there was chairs round about me and a table, and I was fully expecting Michael to sit in a chair, but he decided to sit right beside me. And now we have these two people that have only just met awkwardly in a room with a man just standing in the corner that just poured us drinks, and we're squashed into this little 2-seater love seat, and we were just randomly talking. And I noticed a few things about Michael. I noticed that he was really paying attention to every single detail. You know, when the strap of my bra, nothing happened with my bra. When the strap of my bag fell off my shoulder, he picked it up straight away and put it back on my shoulder. When we were finished our drinks, he took them over to the man at the table. He stopped, he spoke to the guy about his guest house, asked him how long he'd had it, made small talk. And you know, they say that you can tell a lot about somebody by how they speak to other people. I was really looking at him in awe, thinking, you're actually a really fucking good human being. Although, yes, I'd only been in his company for probably 40 minutes at this point and was already one glass of wine deep, but I was looking at him thinking, there's not anything here that's not ticking boxes. It's literally green flags all over, and nothing that was giving me the ick, basically. Absolutely nothing was making me feel a certain way negatively. So we left the guest house, we got a taxi, and we went to the wine bar. Now, when we walked into this wine bar, there's a man playing the piano, the soft hustle and bustle of people having conversations, some people eating some steak, and we got shown over to this beautiful little table just for the two of us. I, of course, sat in the big comfy seat, and to begin with, Michael sat opposite me, but it wasn't long before he was sitting back beside me in this two-seater love seat situation again. But when we were in the wine bar, it was a very unique experience for me because being an independent mum, I am the woman of the house and also the man of the house, in the sense that I lock the door every night, double check to make sure it's locked. I take the bins out. Like I don't want to say masculine jobs because I don't actually believe in any of that, but I done everything here. And there's a lot of things that would put me more in a feminine energy and things that would put me more in a masculine energy. And I had a very strong association with masculine energy, survival mode, your back is against a wall, you're really fighting to keep your head afloat. You are on the defensive a lot. And yes, you may be moving forward in business, in life, financially, all of the things, but you're doing it through force, you're pushing through resistance, you're hustling and grinding, and in that masculine, rigid structure, that sort of energy. I realised on our first date in that wine bar that I was not used to being in my soft feminine. So when the waiter came over to take her order, rather than letting Michael order for me, which would be a very gentlemanly thing to do, which he gave me the impression that's what he was going to do, I defaulted into my natural energetic state, showed up in my masculine energy, and I ordered for myself, as you do when you're showing up in an energy that doesn't make you feel soft and gentle and loved and cared for. But that was just my natural state at the time. I was very much living in survival mode. And I was fiercely independent because of that. Michael is a very, very masculine man. Very masculine, very alpha male energy. But when you put two alpha males together, or an alpha male and an alpha female, you sometimes get a bit of a clash. And I realised that sitting in this wine bar when I'd ordered my glass of wine. So I decided right there, as I was sipping on my Pinot Grigio, I decided right there that I was going to step into my feminine energy for the rest of our date, just to see how I felt. I was going to let my guard down a little bit. I was going to let him in a little bit more. I was going to just soften my edges a little bit. I was going to let him take care of me for one night, just to see. So we were sipping away on our wine, listening to the man play piano. We were talking about things, and Michael said something to me that has stuck with me ever since, and that was over 6 years ago now. He put his hand on my arm across the table, and he said, "You know what, I can tell that you've had a really tough time, but I also know that you're so powerful, you can get anything you want." And to be honest, I don't think I've ever been given a compliment that stroked my ego as much as that did. That made me feel on top of the fucking world, because I'm like, yeah, and if I want you, I'm gonna have you. It made me feel really empowered. It made me feel fucking invincible. It made me feel so powerful, so strong, and put me back into that alpha female energy, which I was trying to step out of just a little bit. However, it was a beautiful, beautiful compliment. So I'd gone from being in my masculine energy into telling myself to soften, into receiving one of my favourite compliments ever, which put me back into my empowered alpha female, almost masculine sort of energy. And then I noticed that my wine glass was empty. So 2 glasses of wine down at this point. Michael signalled to the waiter to come over, and he's like, "Pinot for her, and I'll have whatever." So the guy went away and he came back. But when he came back, he had 2 glasses of red wine. Now, I don't like red wine. I want to like it, but I just don't like it. He had brought me Pinot Noir, which wasn't what I was drinking. And I was like, we've never been in this situation before. And I'm in my masculine energy. And I'm about to sort this shit out, because this isn't the drink that I wanted. Now, this all happened in about 2.1 seconds. Right, the guy brought the wine out, and straight away I was like, no, that's wrong. That's not what I ordered. And the poor man that was serving us was like, "I'm really sorry, but that's what was ordered. I've poured the wine now. I can't actually return it." And I had said to him, "That's not what I was drinking before. We would have ordered a Pinot Grigio. That's what I was drinking. Can you please take this back and bring me the correct drink. And I said it politely. I wasn't an asshole, right? I said it politely. And the waiter looked at Michael to be like, what are we going to do about this one? Michael said, look, it's okay. I'll take that glass of wine if you could just get her what it is that she wants. He backed up my power. And the man had said, you know what? It's no problem at all, sir. Let me take this red wine away and I'll bring your lady the wine that she requested to drink. Now, that created a little bit of an awkward moment between me and Michael because it was giving, I will do what the fuck I want to protect myself and to give myself what I want. It was very lioness energy. I will do things myself. That's not soft and feminine. Okay, that is guarded, that is borderline defensive, all things that will serve you at some moment, but not when you're on a date in a nice romantic wine bar with the most alpha male man that has been in your life for a hell of a long time, possibly even ever, okay? We had to switch the dynamic up again, and I was learning, soften, just soften, let him lead, let him open the door, let him order the wine, let him take my hand, let him be in your soft feminine. So when my wine was brought over to me, I thanked the young waiter and firmly shifted back into my more feminine frequency. Now at this point, I'm 3 glasses of wine deep. Wine drinkers, you will know, it's the danger zone. You're half a glass away from a full bottle, which means you're half a glass away of being wine drunk. And being wine drunk is different to being drunk of any other sort because you get silly, especially when you stand up and you go outside and the fresh air hits you in the face, because that was our last sophisticated moment of the night. Then we got into Kirsty and Michael energy because we got up, we left the wine bar. Michael grabbed me by the hand. We went out, he opened the door. I followed as the good feminine woman that I am. I followed and it was starting to rain. So we ran across the road like slow motion, like those romance movies with the city lights and the rain, and he's whisking me across the road. And we went into a bar slash, I don't even know how you would describe it. It was packed with people, loud music, disco lights, completely different to the wine bar. But we went in, we found a table and we ordered, I don't even know what we were having at this point, but we got into some really good conversation. Now, we were having some drinks, the conversation was flowing, and I had it in my head. This man said he wanted to kiss me on our first date, and it was getting at this point to like 11 o'clock. We were in a really crowded bar, a lot of people, a lot of really wild people at this point too. A lot of alcohol had been consumed by everybody else, and I thought, fuck it, and I just grabbed the back of his neck, pulled him over to me and kissed him. And after that kiss, he kind of pulled back thinking, what the hell, that was meant to be a me thing. And I'm like, Kirsty, feminine, relax, trust, surrender, all these things that you've avoided doing for so long because you've had to show up in that protective energy, but you don't have to be that because Michael is this big, strong alpha energy. You can soften. It's safe to soften. So after that, I said, I'm sorry, I just couldn't help myself. And we continued to laugh and joke and talk about God knows what. I've no idea. More drinks. And eventually Michael went to the toilet. Now, we had been laughing at this couple earlier on. A guy was sitting on his phone, a younger guy sitting on his phone, and the girl that he was with was incredibly drunk, and she was dancing on the chair, you know, grinding against the side of the table, all trying to get his attention, and he was just not looking up from his phone. And we were laughing and joking about them as we were chatting. So Michael goes away to the toilet, and something happened, because when I'm drunk, this is one reason why I don't actually drink that much anymore, but I like to just make friends. And I decided in this moment in time to go over to this couple and to tell the boy, the man, your girlfriend is right here trying to get your attention and you're too focused on your phone to notice that she's right here. And we laughed and we joked and he put his phone down and the girl came over, spoke to me and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you just did that. And he finally noticed me, and we were just laughing and joking. And then I just happened to glance up. And I saw Michael walk back over to our table with the most worried and slightly disappointed look on his face. And I thought, what's wrong? What's happened? In my drunken state, I couldn't put two and two together. And I'm saying drunken state, I was just wine drunk with a little bit of potentially vodka on top. Can't remember what I was drinking, but I was fine. But just, you know what it's like, girls, right? When you have a drink and you just want to talk to everybody and have a good time and you're just loosening up a little bit. So I noticed the look in his face and I noticed him reach down and pick his jacket up and I thought, that fucker is going to leave. He's actually going to leave. So I decided in my masculine energy that I just wasn't managing to fully shift out of to go over and I'm like, hey, where are you going? For him to turn around and say, there you are. He's like, I thought you had left me. I thought when I had gone to the toilet that you had just grabbed your bag and you had gone. He's like, where were you? I was looking for you and I was a bit disappointed. Where were you? I was looking for you and I couldn't see you and I honestly thought you'd left. And obviously he's drunk at this point now too, okay? And I said to him I was actually making friends. And as he turned round, this couple, the dancing couple, the man on his phone, began waving at Michael. And he just looked at me and he's like, what the heck? And burst out laughing. So at this point, the lights had gone on in this bar. It was the end of the night. And a lady was coming round with a tray of vodka jelly. And Michael's like, yeah, cool, we'll take a bunch. And we had a bunch. And we got quite drunk. We really did get quite drunk. But at this point, we both knew we're not going anywhere. I wasn't going to ditch him. He wasn't going to ditch me. We'd gone from being sophisticated and kind of figuring out our dynamic in the wine bar to then coming into some place that's probably a little bit more relaxing for us, really. And being in there and just kind of feeling into the conversation, getting to know each other, that sort of thing, and just hanging out. And it's one thing up until this day is my favourite thing to do with Michael. Not go out on dates, not go on fancy holidays, not sit in nice, sophisticated wine bars, not even going for a drink in a pub, like a bar, whatever. My favourite thing to do with him is just to hang out because we click, and we have always clicked in such a phenomenal way. Something that I've not seen from other people. And I absolutely adored it. So we were getting thrown out of this bar. Closing time, we went out and it was raining and Michael's like, right, I need a takeaway, a habit that he still has to this day after having a drink. He said, where's the best place for me to get a kebab? And I thought, how romantic of you on our first date. We go from a wine bar to a kebab shop. But, you know, it's just the way we are. So I walked him round to a kebab shop. I got some chips and cheese. He got his kebab. And I was saying to him, where are we going to eat this? Because we were coming to the end of the night at this point. And he said, look, how would you feel about coming to the guest house just to eat your food and then you can get a taxi home from there? I said, right, okay, that's fine. Let's do that. And that's what we did. We got the taxi to the guest house, dropped us off at the back door the same way that we had got in the taxi earlier. I was kind of pretty damn drunk at this point. Very drunk at this point. Got to his room, don't even remember how to get to his room. Got to his room and I kicked off my shoes and I jumped onto his bed, lay on my front and started eating my chips and cheese as he lay beside me after kicking off his shoes, eating his kebab. And I'm sitting there and I get the giggles and I could not stop laughing. And we were chatting about it and I remember saying to him that he's this boy from the internet. He's this boy that I met on a dating app and here we are in a random guest house eating chips and cheese and a kebab when I thought we were going for some sophisticated date to this wine bar. And it was just so funny to me. Now, I let Michael in on a secret that night. I let him know that it takes a lot for me to trust someone. Even up until now, I've very much healed my heart in so many different ways, but it takes a lot for me to trust someone. And I said to him, I really feel like I can trust you. And that says a lot for how you've shown up for our first date. And he just kind of laughed it off, probably too drunk to really understand the nice compliment that I gave him back. And we sat and we ate our food. So after chips and cheese and Michael's kebab, it was getting late and I called my taxi. So as per my memory, we walked to the room that had the door that we had come in earlier on. The taxi was outside and I went to open the door and I couldn't get it open. So I said to Michael, the handle's stuck, like I can't open the door. And he tried and it was also stuck. The door was locked. And I said, how do I get out? How the heck do I get out? And he's like, it's fine, just stay. And I said, no, I can't stay. I've got my dog at home. I told you we weren't spending the night together. I can't stay. And he's like, no, please just stay. And I said, look, my dog is at home. Get me out of here. Like, I had a great time, but please let me leave. Like, don't ruin things now. And we thought it was a great idea to open the window and for me to climb out the window, because obviously I was locked in, right? And Michael, I turned round and he had a little dish with sweets in it. I said to him, where the hell did the sweets come from? And it was from the reception desk in the guest house. And he's like, here, put these in your bag. Like, I've had a great date with you. And I'm like, thanks very much, but do you want to give me like a leg up so I can get out this window? And my phone went as I was half out the window. And I answered it, and it was the taxi driver. He's like, I'm your taxi driver. I can see you half out this window. He's like, what are you doing? I was so mortified. So I said to him, well, I'm locked in and I need to get in the taxi because I need to go back to my house because my dog is at home. It's all about the dog. And he said to me, how about the front door that you would have come in when the taxi dropped you off earlier? And I was like, oh yeah, probably blacked out at that point, was probably a little bit too drunk, not remembering how I got to Michael's room. Let me just climb back in and let me go and find the front door and go out the front door. Now, Michael and I had a little kiss and cuddle at the front door. Lovely. And I was walking down a little path of stones. And according to Michael, I was not walking in a straight line. But we're all good. And I get in the taxi. And this taxi driver could not stop laughing. He's like, I can't believe I turned up and you're halfway out the window. I'm like, yeah, well, I was locked in. How else am I going to get out? So we had a little bit of a laugh and a joke on the way back. And the way back to my house. And I opened my bag and I'm like, hey, do you want a sweet? So we were sharing the sweets from the reception desk of the guest house. As I was saying to this taxi driver, we had the best first date. Started off, last week I was doing the cha-cha slide and this inflatable banana and vodka jelly, and I don't want that wine, and then the girl dancing on the chair, and then the table and grinding on the table, and he thought I'd left, and then the lights went on, we got a kebab, and the taxi driver was laughing hysterically the whole way home to my house as I'm handing him sweet after sweet after sweet, as I'm eating the sweets too. And I'm like, but I couldn't stay because I had to get home to my dog. And just as I was saying that, he pulled up outside my house. And I'm like, and thank you very much for that ride home. And the taxi driver said to me, so I take it this man is in for a second date. And I said, I never want to stop dating this man. And I got out the car and I came into my house and I lay on the floor cuddling my dog. And I was saying to my dog, like, I told you, the boy did good. And I went and collapsed in a heap in bed. But when I got into bed, I noticed that I had a text from Michael. And in my drunken state, I looked at it and it didn't even make sense. Something along the lines of, I don't feel any less than you do. And I want to see you again. And I finished your chips and cheese. And I'm like, what the hell? What the actual hell? So I texted whatever it was back. Got a message back from him and he's like, I want to see you again. And then that was it. I passed out. Now the next day Michael had text. He was up and back in his town quite early in the morning. And he had texted me to say, ask me back home. I had such a good time with you last night. I've just told my sister all about you. The fact that I want to see you again. I hope you're feeling okay. All those kisses last night were great. And I'm thinking, all those kisses? Really? Just that one when I grabbed a hold of him and kissed him, and the one at the door? And I'm like, oh yeah, cool. So I was trying to play it cool and smiling and grinning as I'm texting back. And then we gradually start to piece together what actually happened with the chips and cheese and kebab. And we'd had a little kissing session. That was it. Classy girl for first date, sort of, with a kebab and chips and cheese and vodka jelly. But anyway, I hadn't realised until he was starting to tell me, and I was remembering, but he was kissing me more and more, and I just kept saying, I can't stay over, I have to get home for my dog. And he's like, understand that. We're waiting until your taxi's coming, but in the meantime, give me another kiss. And I'm like, but my dog, I can't stay over because of my dog. And he's telling me, I know, I'm not asking you to stay over. It's fine. So we gradually kind of pieced everything together the next day. I went and I laughed as I opened my purse, my bag that I had, to realise I had one single little lemon sweet left. I'd shared the rest of them with the taxi driver, so I told Michael that story as well. And we made plans there and then for our next date within, maybe 12 hours of finishing our first date. We had plans for our second date. We spoke every day by text, a phone call most nights once we both put kids to bed, and we really hit it off with solid communication from day one. Something that had been massively missing for me in previous relationships, something that I'd always really valued was solid communication and really understanding the intentions of my person, right? So for all those people who say, well, there's rules for dating. You know, you can't set up a second date until like 3 days after the first one. You can't text the person first. You can't double text. You can't seem too keen. If they text you, leave it however many hours before you text. You can't text the morning after your first date. You have to leave it a few days. Absolutely none of that applied to our relationship or our dating scenario. And that was one of my favourite things about dating Michael. Most beautiful thing that has made our relationship get to where it is the fact there's never been a hidden agenda. It's been what we've felt we've wanted to do in the moment, and it's always been the right thing for us. There's none of this need to play it cool, or I can't say this because what about XYZ, or I can't say this because what if they think that. It's just been pure honest communication, no games, and honest intention about what we're looking for. Because obviously we were both attracted to each other, we both had phenomenal chemistry, we both really enjoyed spending time together, and pretty quickly in the next few weeks, as we were dating like once a week and then it was up to like a couple of times a week, very quickly in those few weeks we decided, you know what, we kind of want to make a go of this, because why would we choose somebody else? Because there's not anything that we would change. Now we'll talk in another episode about the kids meeting and blending families and all that, because that was certainly a process. It's not something that happened straightforward or easily. We're a very dynamic family. However, that's the story of our first date. The chaos of climbing out of windows, me worrying that he was wanting to spend the night here, then I just about spent the night at his. Thank God that my dog was here, because I just didn't want to spend the night with somebody that first night. And I'm so glad in my drunken state that I remembered that I even had a dog, because I had no idea what was going on towards the end of that date. However, what I will say is that just shows me how much I trusted his energy, who he was, the connection that we had. I did have my location on for 2 of my friends. I was in constant communication with 2 of my friends. So I did all the usual like dating protocol. My mum knew where I was, all this sort of thing. So I was covered from a safety aspect. But having that level of trust, of knowing I can actually let my hair down a little bit here and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be okay. I'm getting really good vibes from this person and I want to just be able to relax. Now, I never meant to get as drunk as I did. I didn't. But I've got absolutely zero regrets. We had a phenomenal first date. One that really set the tone for our relationship going forward. We do try to be sophisticated, but we do also enjoy being impulsive, going with the flow. It's very much how we live our life together. Let's just put one foot in front of the other, see where we end up. Yes, we have future plans. Yes, we have all of this stuff, but we're very go with the flow. Let's be impulsive and never, ever, ever stop having fun and loving talking to your person. So maybe you can take some advice from all of that to let your hair down a little bit, soften your edges a little bit, let people into your life, find people that you can trust, let your hair down a little bit. Always, always, always have fun. Always. And never, ever, ever stop communicating. I love you guys. Thank you so, so much for listening. I'll see you and speak to you in next week's episode.